Well, hey, I want to welcome you to this podcast. And just to get started, I'm just going to remind everybody this new podcast, what it's all about. Love Notes from the Trippy Hippie. So if you're listening, welcome to another episode. Today I have Jeremy Anaker, and we're going to dive into that in just a moment. Did I say your last name right?
You did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Um, so before we dive in, I wanted to just mention and let Jeremy have the floor here. I just wanted to mention the love notes from the Trippy Hippie, what that's all about, real quick, since it's a newer podcast. Limited edition, as far as I know, now in my ideas of what's coming forward. But basically, years ago, I was on a road trip. I found with a girlfriend, found in the restroom at some place I stopped a sticky note on the mirror that said, "What if your fondest dreams is small compared to what the universe has in store for you?" And I just felt like that was such a like just a little love note. And then as our audience is going to find out, we have a lot of common interest in spirituality, meditation, that kind of stuff. And I for one will when I do, I don't know if there's too much meditation or whatever, I fall into this very lovey-dovey thing and I send my friends all these love notes and I sign off love from the Trippy Hippie. And one of my friends, I was telling her that story one day and she goes, "That's the name of your podcast." And I'm like, okay, maybe. A year and a half later, I decided that just like the love note on the bathroom mirror, I would be I guess, bringer of love. So things that are magical in my life, I wanted just to put it out on a platform for other people to see or experience. And if something calls to them and it maybe they're inspired to seek a little bit more. And you're one of those things that just keeps popping up in my life. Like I just find you and we have these little magical connections. And I thought it would be fun to put it out there. I invite listeners to be like a butterfly on the wall if we were sitting and having coffee. So it's pretty informal. Like I said, I wanted to introduce you and what you're all about. So, can you tell us all about you and the things you do, and how do we end up having these magical connections?
Well, I do have to say, April, I think we've both been enthusiastic a very long time, and we're both sort of trippy hippies. I think of myself as a spiritual nerd more specifically, but I think it's very much the same. Where if maybe when I first started out 37 years ago, something cerebral or interesting metaphysically showed up and it changed my brain. I knew it was happening, you know, right from the beginning. So I was always interested in a perspective or something to contemplate that shifted me.
Interesting.
Um, at this point, I would say it shifts me from human brain to spiritual brain,
Oh,
whatever does that.
okay. I like this. I'd not heard that before, and contemplating my own brain changes literally come about from meditation. I mean, not just in the way you look at life, but I can tell my brain is different. Like it feels like a healthier brain. It feels like
Right,
a
right.
more resilient brain. It feels, happy brain.
Absolutely. I did start out as that person who created energy states or changed my brain chemistry consciously. So I would choose a thought and knew it had a higher vibration or it moded a part of my brain where chemicals were released and I'd have an energy experience. So I started out with that as a focus. And over the years, while studying meditation, I realized that I could live in a meditation space, like function
Mhm.
in a meditation space, that I could shift to a next level and be in life as if it was a meditation.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting to me for quite a while. So I'm just highlighting some things I feel like are similar between you and I. That we're both kind of lifelong people on the journey. And the love note you just shared that you saw on the wall is exactly the kind of stuff I love.
Um,
And, there's what I intend, there's what I want, and
mhm.
then there's sometimes it's what the universe is giving, which is what I'm intent on being with.
Okay. This
What
is
is the
really
universe
cool.
giving?
Yeah, this is really cool because this is actually coming up a lot for me in my life right now.
Hmm?
And so I think this will be fun to unpack for anyone else who's maybe feeling that like I'm sort of falling in that space of like what's intended for me. So like and what am I like fighting in life? Like what do I need to surrender and what do I need to uh I'm not sure if I can find the right words here, but I've just been feeling like at the cusp of it. It's like at the front and center, as in like, am I wanting something that's not intended for me? Like
Hmm.
there's there's a surrender to like what is and then working with that. And then there's
Hmm.
also like um I'm trying to find that pivotal point of like what is acceptance versus giving up or surrender. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
I was writing about that this morning. Like what it's, I find myself to be in the very, very nuanced gray spaces lately, which
Hmm.
is exciting and awfulsome, I guess.
Awfulsome. That's fun. I feel like you just have all these terms I'm going to enjoy where you've been working with people a lot and developing your own language in some way. And I think that is something that excites me too. Like I things that are homespun or come from the space I'm working in. I do have sources. One source I really worked a lot with was Dr. Wayne Dyer, who at one point spoke to intention as something I surrender to or I hang out in instead of make happen. I don't intend personally.
Hmm.
I hang out in the field of intention as it does what it does. I'm hanging out in it and trusting it.
Hmm. I think that's a great
So,
description. That is, yeah. And
so
also,
I'm working on connecting to what intention is doing, which could be higher will or my true heart, my true self, what
okay.
it wants, which is different than what personality wants.
So maybe that's a little bit what I'm feeling is like, what is it that my heart wants versus what my ego or personhood wants?
Right.
And sometimes I feel like maybe that is maybe maybe just for me or maybe for several people, but the struggle of getting them on the same page together.
Absolutely.
Like
Right
our
now, what comes
relationship.
yes, I mean, what right now what comes to mind is if I really sat down and thought about it, I'd really want to be aligned to virtues like kindness, unity,
Mhm.
um, uh, in my highest self. And I could think of my highest self as this um, part of me that I've been realigning to over many years. And it's beyond what I normally do. It's my uncommon self. So the hurdles of life to me are pointing me towards my uncommon self. So this weekend, my uncommon self is showing me that I can see fixing the garbage disposal under the sink as a meditation.
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
personality is struggling.
That's awesome. That was just, I mean, that's really relative to like what I was gonna say to you just a moment ago. Like when you live your life as a meditation, what is that like versus, not living your life as a meditation? Like, how do you show up differently or what's the experience like? Can you say more about that?
um, well, I need this conversation, to reset. Most of the week, I was avoiding fixing the garbage disposal.
Mhm.
It seemed like an interruption on my good life. I like going dancing. I like teaching classes. I like doing all kinds of things. And all of the garbage disposal went bad.
Mhm.
And the universe is saying, this is life too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I would say my uncommon self or my higher self never says no to a part of life. It always is saying yes.
Hmm.
And to grow into that to me is the missing piece at later stages. Like, why am I not getting this? I'm manifesting, I'm intending, things are going my way. While all that is necessary and good to think from the end and to be powerful, in the ways we're struggling, we may need to go to a whole different mindset, use a new mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a saying that you won't solve a problem with the same mind that got you there. I don't know who said that though, and I'm probably paraphrasing, so who knows if I got that right.
Albert Einstein. You
Did I
can't
even
solve a
say it
problem with the
right?
same mind that created it. It's
Oh,
absolutely
that created it. Yeah, that and then
yes.
got you there. So yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yes, yes. Oh man, isn't that the truth?
It really is. So, and I think of make it clearer. I think of what I call phase one and phase two. Phase one is really important, and you should never glaze over it. And it's finding your spirit, its resolve, its power, and tending and finding the attitude that works. Write that book, use that voice. It,
Mhm.
you know, do everything in your intentional power to have a good dream life. Have a good to be the dream character that's in victory.
Mhm.
And somehow, if you're lucky, you end up needing to balance that off with phase two work, which is basically, wait a minute, this is just a dream.
Mhm.
It's all temporal. Wait a minute, I can find a peacefulness where I all of a sudden I can be in rest or peace living under a bridge or in a mansion. They're both, I don't prefer, my spirit doesn't prefer either. My
Mhm.
spirit knows how to be in its truth. I can abide in something greater than all relative circumstances. I can see through the dream. I can accept everything, and I can be peaceful no matter what.
Ooh, this really touches something that's really been, I guess, sort of eating at me in a way, actually, lately. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the difference between acceptance and tolerating. Because I understand the acceptance. Like, I feel like, I mean, I do feel like, I have the ability to be happy no matter what. Like,
Right.
I feel like I have enough of I don't know the skill of working with my mind, I guess, to know what that is like. And yet at the same time, especially if you're okay, so a good example of this is relationships. Like I, having been in a relationship that has not been very good, I can tell you that I have developed the skill and that I know that I can be happy no matter what. But yet at the same time, I realize I had been teaching myself to tolerate abuse,
Right. Right.
actually, or tolerate less than what I would prefer. And not in an attached way, but if you have the power to choose, why would you tolerate or why would you accept? And how do you know where those pivotal places are?
Well, that's why you have a life coach or a mentor, and you do the work. I think the bottom line is
Okay.
starting with a framework or an attitude, and I think it's a gift to feel connected to a teaching or an attitude. Like
Hmm.
I can't make people ready, and
Sure.
I can't make people get or want this stuff. But I think it's a gift to get a sense that my spirit doesn't doubt, doesn't isn't confused. It is knowing itself. It knows how to handle this, whatever this is,
Hmm.
and it knows the highest good.
So is it being in touch with your spirit and trusting your spirit to tell you whether you're tolerating it versus accepting and
Yeah,
then try?
it is. That is the process at work. But
Okay.
I like starting with the the belief or point of view that my spirit has the knowing, absolutely has the knowing.
Okay.
It doesn't wobble. It unfolds in perfect timing. There isn't a problem. My spirit knows how to deal with this.
Okay.
It intuitively knows how to handle situations that used to baffle me. It's there. Can I do what it takes to be on board? for that? Am I willing to do all the work that it takes to be there for my with my spirit? Because it knows how to handle my situation
Oh,
and it
that's
knows why
interesting.
it's good. So, you know, what a mentor can help you with is remind you, hey, let's just be clear. Toxic relationships are damaging. Let's start there.
Right. So do you work with a mentor?
I do. I have a few, more than a few.
Oh,
Absolutely.
love it. I am a big fan of that myself, and I could not ever dream of doing the things I do without one. Or
It,
I actually have a few also. I don't just have one.
I, it's absolutely necessary. I don't want to get too preachy, but yeah, it's absolutely necessary for me, anyways.
Yeah, and for me too, and that's where I live from. And so it's just my intuitive sense that, teachers need teachers, healers need healers, doctors need doctors, all those things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I established in a community, it took me like 20 years to really get in the groove, and it's still going into the groove. Is I can approach me as if I'm just starting out again. I'm still tricking myself again, and I could use some feedback. Like just
Mm,
make sure I'm in that space. I when I was 18 years old, I was literally in the front of the class in transformation school. I was literally able to pick up on things
mhm,
faster than almost anybody. People twice my age were using the insights I gave intuitively.
mm.
And I was at the front of the class. And very soon life hit me. And my teacher would go, "See, you're not as far as you thought you were."
Exactly.
Just living it or having it come to life through tests, and
Mhm,
which is a totally different thing than knowing about. Or the important part of it is to share clearly, what these concepts are and where their value lies, how they work,
mhm.
which is what I started out doing very, very well. Living it, wow. I choose to go back to don't kid yourself, Jeremy. This stuff is tricky. The personality is a real tricky place. I need help.
For sure. So you had some hippie parents, and so how
Right.
how did you first, I mean, do you remember your first like tipping point into like spirituality or on the path that you're on? Um,
There's so many layers to that, as we know. I would say lately I've been thinking about when I was 10, I couldn't stop looking at the Tao Te Ching, the Lao Tzu.
all right, yeah, nice. I like that. I like Wayne Dyer's version.
Oh, I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
It's the straightforward version of the Tao. I look at it now and I go, what in the world called me to look at that book? Because it doesn't make any sense to personality. It doesn't make logical sense.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
not the kind of thing you can just understand conceptually quickly. It's just only the spiritual brain understands it, I would say, or some higher part of me gets it. It's poetry.
Yeah.
I sat with it and sat with it and sat with it at 10 years old,
Wow.
and I vibrated it with it. So that's what probably at 10 it was online in some way. I was seeing energy fields at 10. My cat died, and I knew instantly when my cat died. I was crying. I was in Florida. Our cat was temporarily a barn animal on
Hmm.
our trip to Florida, and I went, "Kiki's dead,"
Mm.
and they couldn't shut me up. No, Kiki's fine. No, Kiki's dead.
Oh.
And so I had this super sensitivity to intuition and to awakeness, different types of awakeness. That wasn't just intellectual grokking. It was some kind of, oh, there's mystery everywhere. Oh yes, that's how I started out in life. It does help to be in that hippie style or some openness, I would
Yeah,
say.
there's a receptivity to it instead
Right.
of yeah, in similarly, not in the same fashion, but similarly, I have some of that energy as well. In fact, yesterday I was meditating. And I say meditating lightly because it was one of those times I'd been on a really long trip and I was so exhausted that I ended up falling asleep, which is okay. So I fell asleep and I had a dream about my friend and her partner. And when I woke up, there was a text that she had sent me some photos of a really sweet Valentine's Day card that he had given to her. And she was describing how he's not really a romantic person and not really a card type at all. But it was
Mhm.
interesting that I was dreaming about the two of them and their relationship, and yet I woke up to that text from
Mhm.
her, which is unusual in that little thing, but more unusual because he doesn't usually do that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so she had something to say about it. And
Mhm.
also, I mean, that's just a small one, but I wanted to ask you too, because you said you sat with that vibration of the Tao Te Ching, and I'm
Mhm.
just wondering, it's my belief. I feel a lot of times that when somebody writes a book and puts the energy into it,
Mhm.
that by virtue of it being with you, even having not read the whole thing, but reading part of it, like that intention is transferred to us, that energy is.
I absolutely know that's true. It's if somehow you intuit the principle in the book,
Hmm.
it's the energy, and you can stay connected to it. It's I would say to me, I think about what drives everything more than technique or knowledge is readiness to shift. Somehow I intuit principle and it comes to life in me. And that's the energy part, or I come to life through looking at the title, the subtitle of this book. I have a subtitle of a book that I have in my head. It's been there forever, and I just use the subtitle of a certain book.
It's interesting you say that too, because I have had this is something I accidentally discovered while doing coaching for dating. I would do a lot of teaching people about boundaries and
Mm.
how, the typical story can be like, well, I sent him a text and I'm waiting for days and he hasn't texted me back.
Right.
And I would teach people to shift their energy, not like in a playing hard to get, but really be in that decisive place to call their energy back and to
Mm.
let it go and detach. And the moment you shift, like just in that energy field, the text, I've had people like be on coaching me like, oh my God, he just texted me right now. And I started to feel like that energetic decision and that shift, if you're purely in it, it like
Yeah.
sends out results. I mean, not just like with text with a guy, but like if you've like, I mean, like even in myself, energetic shifts when I decided I would just stop drinking. Like, it just seems to like change all of the I don't know what to call them. Quantum entanglement opportunities. It's like
Mhm.
they're done, they're off the plate now.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I know, and I should just mention, just in case anybody is listening and they don't want any spoilers, in case we go down that way, we both watch Dark Matter, had a lot
Right.
to think about and say about it. So just a heads up, if that's something you want to see, maybe
Right.
pause this and come back to it,
Okay.
in case we
I,
end up talking more about that.
I love what you're pointing to in this. What comes to mind is even in this quiet space, like I'm not deliberately with people I know or interact with all week. Right now, I'm in a very clear way, and just in the space with you on the material level. But I'm an energy connected to all these different people,
Mhm.
and there's a part of them that all know me and my neediness or pushiness or anxiousness, and
Mhm.
it detracts. It's unattractive.
Mhm.
Can I let go? Can I connect to my spirit, which is liftedness? It's wholeness,
Mhm.
and that's attractive.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's a teacher in California I enjoy going back to once in a while, Adi Ashanti. Have you run across
Oh,
Adi
yes.
Ashanti stuff?
Yep.
One of the best partners, um, dialogue I've ever heard, or material I've ever sat with is him and Mukti having a conversation about partnership.
I need to listen to this. It sounds
You got to
fascinating.
find it. It's really
Okay,
good.
go on.
Um, but one of the things he says once in a while is one of the things that connected him to Mukti or what was so attractive is you could tell she didn't need him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the person I need. She doesn't need me. And that's the person I'm attracted to. There's no need there.
Yeah.
She's she runs her show internally, or she's in her spirit, and she doesn't need anything outside of her. It's clear.
Yeah.
And to bring that in partnership, that's next step. That's late stage stuff in human culture to bring wholeness from both sides.
Yeah, I love that. I follow a lot of Osho, and a lot of what he says is the same thing, is that, you must love in such a way that the other person feels free. Um,
Right.
yeah, I think not only to love that way, but to be loved that way, I can say for myself, it makes, speaking for a mermaid, we want to feel free. That's what the tale's all about.
Oh, interesting. It's a great metaphor. Um, you know, I love the freedom space as well. I feel like I'm on a journey in discerning the what freedom really is.
Mhm.
I'm still on that journey. I have a few things that have helped me. But yeah, I'm still working with that. I run into a lot of people that resist freedom being connected to responsibility in some way.
Yeah, I feel like what I've seen in my experience is that I mean, it might sound cliche that we're all part of this matrix, but
Mhm.
we are so accustomed to life telling us what to do, when to do it, how to do it. We're so plugged into our work schedules, demands of, partners and children and parents, and our identity and what we do in this world, and what we need to do to show up that way, that I feel like to leave people with a certain amount of freedom has them feeling very untethered, and feeling a lot of unknowns, and it's uncomfortable. So in that way, um, so many of us long to feel free, but we also can't stand it, if that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense to me. How do I relate with that?
What?
Uncertainty. I want things to be a certain way,
Mhm.
and allowing is freedom. Being in the state of allowing.
Yeah, that's really, like, I think hard for people, is to be in a state of allowing. I know for a lot of women, at least in working with dating and things like that, allowing themselves to feel receptive to, a lot of them have, a lot of us, I should say, myself included, we have
Right.
this uber independence, and it's hard for us to relax and allow receptivity and that trust to come in. And not just with a partner, but life. Because I personally feel like I had a rebirth experience last year, and a big part of that, what that happened in the afterbirth of it, is it feels like my partner is life itself, my intimate partner. Life is that intimate partner. And so, like, when I'm feeling like, how do I allow more? Or how do I be receptive more? I feel like life likes to answer me and tells me, like, like, trust me, I'll show you. You'll, that kind of thing. Like, life itself will show you if you ask. I think my life is the oracle. um,
I
but with that being,
really agree with that. I like the way you're stating what I enjoy working with as well. Your framework for it is great.
well, thank you.
So, life is conspiring for me
Yeah. And with
every
that being
moment.
said, can you share some of the ways in which you embrace more freedom, or how you allow, or what are the tools you work with to enjoy feeling free?
Well, you know, lately I've been dancing a lot,
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
and the joy space, being in the moment, being in the music, just letting go, it
Yeah.
helps me a lot. So that's really easy. And so it's without excluding like the philosophical parts of me that need addressing. I have my gongs and my singing bowls and my sound work and my reiki and my quest for what freedom is, like discovering it directly. So
Mm.
much of my life is about having direct contact with freedom.
Ooh.
That happens a lot while I'm still
When when was the last time you had direct contact with freedom, and what was
I'm
that?
feeling pretty free right now. I just had a session too that really helps. And I have another one after I talk. So mentoring and helping people connect to freedom. I connect to freedom with people a lot.
Ooh, I love that. I really love that.
Absolutely. I have a gift that I appreciate because it helps me so much. At times, I just know the phrase that helps us go to freedom, and it resonates, and people find it, with me.
Can you
I,
share that?
I
That's
would say from being in transformation school for a long time, like 20 years,
mhm.
and being in many, many situations, there's certain things that are spiritual facts. I mean, in intellectual world, nothing's a fact. Everything's relative. There's no absolutes. But in spiritual reality, there are absolutes. There are facts. One fact is your spirit. You are essence. You are life. That's just a fact. It's not a wobbly thing. Someone that doesn't get that or agree with me will run from me, and that's probably a gift for both of us.
Right. Agreed. Agreed. Also,
Right.
I realize I cannot date atheists.
There you go. There you go.
We will not get along.
I get it. I get it. But I'm still a student of this as well. But I benefit from being able to share clearly enough to reset for it. Like, and it's really nice to have enough clarity. And I think some of the things that come to mind right now is there's no freedom in the personality. There's no freedom in my long list of wants
Mm-hmm.
or my personal will. There's no freedom there. Um, you know, I want what I want when I want it. That's addictive mind. That's personality and it's contraction, having a tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
I want it this way. I want it now. I want it to look like this. There's no freedom there.
This is true. This is true.
um, the challenge is of allowing others when I'm tested personally. And I think you must deal with that a lot with coaching people in relationship. I mentioned to you like Tangle. We've been doing dark matter.
Mm-hmm.
As you track the plot of dark matter and how we're tangled with others, what comes to mind?
Say more about that. I'm not sure I'm fully understanding the
Yeah,
question.
there's all these different ways we're connected. And there's different universes, and
Oh, yeah.
there's different possibilities. There's different all these different scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking at how to interact with people authentically, how to be your true self, how to.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard in what you said, put your spirit first. You have to live your life.
Yeah, but even as I say that, I feel like, does that seem selfish, or is that something that's like a personal identity with me? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I struggle
yeah.
with both of those.
Yeah. It's the answer seems to be do the work. Do enough work to find your spirit, and it's knowing. I feel like that's kind of the standard. It's reframe, do what it takes to refine or re-access you. I would say a nice start is to think about the oxygen mask of the airplane and the people around you in life. That's a
Yeah.
nice start. Like get a reset.
That's
Is
generally how I think of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
generally how I think of it. So, um, yeah, so those are my own personal struggles when I'm like, yes, but are you not being like, I don't know, giving enough? And
yeah. Right.
and that can be a personal identity too. Like that's probably a construct that a conditioning I was maybe taught, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. This. this points to the depth of the what we're working on.
Mhm.
um you start with what seems clear for me. Yeah, that picture of an oxygen mask coming down relaxes the trying to help others a bit enough so I can be connected first. It's like having peace first, then I can give it.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't give from an empty cup, you know.
Right. And I feel like if we do the work, we can start catching uh, roles we play, and they dive the energy drops. If I use helper or fixer or you know, spiritual expert, it's a role, it's a fixed, it's an identity of some sort. And it has weight and it drops my energy.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you had recommended the movie to me. Is it Grit and Grace by,
Yes, yes,
can I say it right? Or yeah, which I
yes.
did watch, and I it was interesting to see this play of spirituality and person between in his life. Uh,
He's um, he's spearheading the need to be real and awake,
mhm,
like having those two processes in the room at
mhm,
once.
mhm.
And I think he's sharing very comprehensively how if you don't do both strategies, disaster will ensue. It is disastrous.
Yes, yes, you do need both strategies. That is a really, really good point. Now, I was gonna say I'm not super familiar with Ken Wilber's books, but what's really interesting is that he was actually good friends with my very first meditation teacher. And so I would listen to, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with a guy named Bill Harris. He created a meditation program called Holosync, and I've used that for about 20 years. And him and Ken Wilber were really good friends, and they would always feature these talks together. So I learned a lot about spirituality from Ken Wilber, but I'd never read one of his books. I
Oh.
just listened to him talk every now and then. Um,
When I was reading his books, fewer people understood me. What
oh,
came out of my mouth was so complex and dense.
yeah,
So it's trying to find a way to boil it down into simple terms is a real challenge because you and I are interfacing with people as coaches.
yeah.
So it's really important to find a way to keep it really simple, get to the heart of it, and find that tool that's useful for who I'm with right now. So
Absolutely.
um, putting Ken Wilber down a bit, I think is really important too. He's so dense and so academic in some way.
I
It's
was
a
gathering that from the movie yesterday. I liked what I saw, but at the same time, I was like, I don't think I can get through one of his books. I think that's like way over my head.
but I think what we just said is really good, and he frames it super comprehensively for academia, for people that study world culture and its movement. He does that work, like thank you, Ken. I don't need to use it all, but basically, I would say it's telling how many benefits that are measurable now from someone that does meditation or Zen with therapy, or they understand their own psychology, and they understand the sense of awakeness that's in them directly. They've had some contact with awakeness.
Yeah.
And I would say, to boil it down, for 50,000 years or more, there have been paths to awakeness. You could call it shamanism, energy work. You could say that you could look into India for 7,000 years. There's been, meditation techniques and philosophy to have contact with awakeness, and it works. It's always been available to us, but only in the last, 100 and some years we've understood our psychology. We're starting to get a sense of that. I might boil it down to, wait a minute, hurt people do hurt people.
Hmm.
Even the most awake person can be unskillful, and boy, is it happening. And Ken Wilber points right at it. Like these um, foremost spiritual leaders are falling because their emotional wellness isn't addressed, has never been addressed.
Mm.
So do both. He's saying disaster will ensue.
Hmm.
Both. Be emotionally in development and spiritually awake. You know, so
And my own personal experiences, I think that's where I have tried, like as in like just being a person of goodwill and good intent. I was
mm,
like, I want to avoid hurting anybody,
right, right,
but at the same time, you are one of those persons.
sure, right,
You're in the factor too. And I think all of life is 50-50. And I'm not sure that you can, well, I'm pretty darn sure you can't get through life without hurting people. It's just, I mean, you're gonna step on an ant or, not just people, but as my one of my yoga teachers used to teach, there's that ahimsa, which most people translate to non-harming, which he clarified to say it's the least amount of harm. Like, can you just make the choices that are going to be the least amount of harm, as often as possible? And factoring yourself into that. Don't leave yourself out of that equation. What is it the Buddha says? You, as much as anybody else, deserve your own love and compassion.
right, right.
Um,
Yeah, what
um,
comes to mind and what kind of keeps it simple, which points to we still got to do this work, is if I approach you as a wounded person, I'm going to do unnecessary harm. If I'm not owning my
yeah.
wounds
Mhm.
and licking my own wounds
Yeah.
and doing me diligently, I'm
Mhm.
going to project on you. I'm going to be in an attack mode in some way. I'm going to choose from personality selfishness instead of from my integrity. It's tricky. I mean, that part of me is really tricky. So that's what I'm working on.
It is. And to me, it's an ongoing process because to me, you can only do that to the extent that you are aware. And I feel like there's a lot of our shadow that's just not even available for us. I mean, we're willing to do the work,
Right,
but
right.
if you can't see it, what are you working on? You know what I mean? Like,
I hear you. I think the gentle framework is necessary from the probably the first thing in the on the path. If someone has the gentle framework,
yeah.
it's going to be helpful. And I might say often, just while you're not perfect, you're moving your DNA, your gene pool is moving forward.
Yes, I love that. That's so true. And such an important distinction because I think as humans, there's so many tendencies for us to fall in that all or nothing category
Right,
and
right,
get ourselves also, at least in the path of like love, I know one of the things I can end up working with is a lot of people having that belief that I have to be perfect in order to be loved. Well, as long as we're focusing on that, we're not bringing love out into the world or to ourselves or anybody else. Yeah.
right.
So, and by the way, I was going to say, I mean, here we are on this great little talk here, and I mentioned how you got started or when did you first notice it, but I would love to hear where that's led you to. What kinds of things, do you offer people, students? Love for our listeners to hear some of those.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah. Where this has led you to.
Right. So when I was coming up as a young adult, from the starting gate into adulthood, I was curious about healing and wellness through energy reality. And in Milwaukee, there's tons of stuff to see. And I would hit every group I could. At some point, I decided, oh, I better go to India. I love Paramahansa Yogananda. I'm feeling this charge. I better go to India and find Sri Yukteswar in the mountains. And I even investigated plane tickets, one-way plane ticket, mind you. I was going to get a one-way plane ticket to India, go in the mountains, find that teacher. And instead, I found a school in the west side of Milwaukee called the Institute of Self-Awareness.
Cool.
And I soon learned that if I was to go to India in the mountains, I would get the same truth. What I'm looking for is right here.
I love that.
So that was the practice right away. What I'm looking for is right here. And that was given in the Reiki attunement, that was given in every class. And I contributed to that basic teaching, and we showed how it revealed itself in energy and auras. So you can come at energy and auras from a pure psychic framework, like you're trying to enhance your psychic abilities, or you can use it as, oh, there's an intuitive um, uh, a set of things that will help me wake up. The intuition can help me wake up. It can help tell the story of awakening.
Mm.
So I right away I was about that, and I was watching energy fields. So while I was doing Reiki, I was watching energy fields. My first Reiki experience was when I knew nothing, and I got on the table. A person put their hands out. It was warm energy. It was peaceful, and at the first session, I became peace. Personality disappeared. Sense of body was gone.
Mm.
Peace was in the foreground. There wasn't this and that piece, me and that piece. It was just peace, and it was me. My essence was peace,
Mm.
and it didn't have an ender, no boundary. It just kept. It was just forever peace. And it took me some time after the Reiki session to find body and personality. I had to like reorient, and it was sort of a sign that that would be the way I would approach the relationship to freedom through a technique called Reiki.
Okay.
So I learned Reiki through an early pioneer in the Reiki community, Helen Borth, who was a pioneer in many ways in consciousness studies. So our school was into the cutting edge of spiritual growth. So we'd study everything that came up. At 20 years old, 21 years old, I decided, oh, I better go to libraries and teach the full implications of physics on everyday life. What is paradigm shift? So at 21 years old, I was in a room with people 3 times my age, 3 times more educated than me, with the knowing it's time to find my voice, my authority now.
Mm.
I wobbled, I stumbled, but I knew it's time to find my voice now. Don't wait. And that was the way the school worked. So I was sweating for 20 years in that school. Be your authority now. No, put no one above me now. My teacher's talents and the knowing she came from was extraordinary. And it was, Jeremy, find yours too. It wasn't talk about her all day. It
Mm.
wasn't try and, told her name around town. It was for me to discover that. So that was the tone of that school. So I worked as a satellite for that school in Madison here, and I brought people to Milwaukee to help them discover the gifts we discovered together in our community, as our group. And it was uh, direct discovery of freedom, direct discovery of life energy, and unfolding in it as best as we could, like finding ways to embody in it as freedom. What is that all about? What's the mind style there? And how does it come to life? So pretty soon, the students I brought to Milwaukee were used to me, and they didn't get Helen, so they got me, but they didn't get Helen. So that's where my authority really came to life. I started sharing with people in ways that nobody else could, and I had some people that kept working with me. So I teach Reiki and I give aura feedback. I give coaching, and there's the things around Reiki that I do that help the freedom space stick. It helps it stay in place. So I'm a comprehensive intuitive coach. I give aura feedback. You could say it's a bit somatic, but the visual storyline can be very potent for certain people. Some people will be in a coaching session, they're just sitting in the chair, and they'll say, I'm in a meditation space. How did you do that? I didn't do it. They resonated.
Mhm.
They
Would you
turned,
say, would you
they
say that's,
found their spirit somehow.
yeah, would you say it's attunement?
It's a form of attunement. I would say some people they just resonate with some spiritual facts, and I do too. there's no wobbliness there. It's not intellectual world with like it's a fact in this context and not in that context. On some level, we're just simply aliveness and freedom itself, and that's just there's no beating around the bush on it.
I mean, I think of us like humans, I tend to think of a little bit like, well, like animals and like herd animals.
Sure, right,
And
right.
so then also like when you think of like even an orchestra, if they're, the violin tunes, right? And then all the instruments tuned so that you know what A
Yes,
is, you're all playing it. And I feel that whoever's got the most congruency with their own attunement pulls up
right.
the vibration in the room. Likewise, if that same congruency can pull you down if you're not congruent enough, or am I making sense?
Well, when you find your heart and share from it, your song, you could say, and it's truly yours, everyone benefits. So if you find you,
That's what
everyone
I get
benefits.
at.
They find themselves
Mhm.
and they find their authentic self. They didn't find you as amazing. They found themselves as aliveness or magnificence. They've
I like the way you say that because I will share this. In dating at one point, I remember being with a friend. We weren't dating, but a complicated story. But anyways, in the presence of this person, I
mm,
felt a different part of myself that was magnified.
mm,
It was
nice.
the most interesting thing, but it kind of resonates to what you're saying in the sense that there was that little piece of that person, and it got magnified, when they were in your presence. And in a way, I'm seeing this happen not just with people I've dated. I saw this happen with one of my clients once. And in the way when you talk about consciousness, I just wanted to give it a little life here and
Mm,
see if I'm catching what you're putting down.
sure.
What I mean by that is that I remember that we were chatting about something once, me and my client, and then I heard her say something in a different way, and she immediately goes, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And there's a biblical quote, and I think it's like, wherever two or more gather in my name, something like that. And I feel like you're talking about a synergistic energy. Like I said, if you're in that resonance, attunement, there's each of you can become more. Am I making sense?
You make it sense to me completely. When two or more gather is definitely a term I use often to try to reset for who or what's in charge when there's freedom
Yes.
in the room.
Yeah.
I don't fix people.
Right.
Somehow there's resonance. It happens with me a lot, but I didn't do it.
Yeah. And I pay attention to that. In fact, what you're talking about is one of the reasons why I have this tool that I teach my clients. It's called a soul compass. And the soul compass is meant for you to recognize the resonance of your soul. Like you build it so that you take it with you out in the world and you're able to attune to those pieces where yeah, you just feel this freedom and expansion, at
Right.
least. And yeah, so again, in their life they bring that. And so that's how I think I found it, not just. And I talk about like building your, like, you can talk about soulmates when it comes to love, which that's what that movie was about, right? Ken Wilber's movie Grit and Grace. Well, not it's not the only thing it was about, but
Right.
it was written about that journey with his soulmate, that part. Yeah.
Well,
But
and it got so real too, which I
yeah.
think is important work. So it's a great movie. The message is unique. There's a lot of what is it? Happy ending type of happily ever after type of teachings,
Mhm.
and I feel like it's useful to give people some sense of how to work with the most difficult parts when they come up, and they often come up in later stages of the quest. I mean, you're not free of getting hit by something from your own energy or from life or
Life.
from the struggle in your partnership. It's going to get real.
Well,
What?
what came up for me is that not just the realness, but the realness integrated a wholeness and a completeness,
Right.
not in the way that they complete me. I didn't feel that at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah, right, right.
that they were but life like and that's part of what I'm kind of saying with the soul compass is it will lead you to those resonant places and spaces where you feel a wholeness and it's and when we feel whole we feel complete, not that that person did it to us,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that life in doing the work and showing up in those spaces that gave you an opportunity. I almost call it like stepping into the void or the abyss. Like you can
Mhm.
step into that place and fill it and you'll feel more complete on your journey, more whole on your journey.
There's so many layers to what you're sharing, so many different um, things to process. I think the bottom line you're kind of getting to is there's our spirits shares with us. Yes, this is the adventure you need to go on through
Oh,
energy,
yeah. Good way
through
to
a download.
Yeah. And I felt that with like I said with the soul compass, I could feel that with people that I dated, not I'm not saying they're my soulmate, but there's something there. And then same with my I call them soulmate clients. That
Mhm.
there's a synergy that we're both building together. Like you were saying when that person was in peace with you.
Yeah, yes, it's meant to be in a certain way. It's like it's
Yeah.
unity is being revealed through what we're creating together, and
Mm.
divinity sort of landing on the planet. It's giving its energy to the planet through that connection between two people. There's a song being sung between them.
That's so beautifully stated.
Right,
So
right.
thank you for finding those words.
Yeah, yeah. It's another part of what I do is, and I think you saw some of my channeling work. I do channelings, and I've been
Yeah.
doing that for most of the years I've been working as well. So yeah, using language, understanding uh, this work through an artist's lens because I went to art school, and a lot of what I do is teaching art or sharing through the artist lens, how to see this process.
I love that. I love that. One of those, another teaching that I like to talk about is like the Michelangelo effect. And so,
Mm,
you're the sculptor of your life, your relationships. Yeah,
right.
I love that. So being able to see your life as art, that's beautiful.
Absolutely. I benefited from taking creativity art out of the box so completely that group energy is painting, and I'm part of this group energy as it paints from its palette. There's different colors, there's different qualities, and can I participate in it and be a part of it, and stand up in certain ways for principles so it can reveal its potential. So a group experience is like painting, or the sound work is like painting for me. So I take it out of the box completely. I'm never not creating, even when I'm sitting and resting and
Ooh,
abiding in my spirit. I'm painting. My life is changing.
that is amazing. I feel personally like there's no better space to be than in the creative space. That's when I feel my best.
I think maybe you and I are in a similar place with this work.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
There's
thank you for sharing that. What else?
welcome.
Anything else? Anything else you want to add that you do? So exciting.
I often will create a class around the person I meet or the people I'm with. And so that's a sort of a channeling thing. But I have a list of events and classes I do online and in person. I'm teaching aura detangling once
Ooh,
a month.
that sounds fascinating. Okay, let's pause on that for a second.
Sure.
Can you say, because I don't know if anybody else is listening that's going to be like, wait, what is that? That sounds amazing. What is aura detangling?
We get tangled, and there's so many ways we get tangled. I could say fundamentally, Buddha discovered you're not. You sort of there's this me energy and there's a thought. and then they get tied together somehow, and samsara is born. So on the
Hmm.
highest level, you're tangled. You're a tangled knot. You're a simple knot. It also is true. We get tangled through obligation or in human culture. So we agree to human culture, which is limitation itself. We do have
Yeah.
no idea how tied up we're in it. So we get tangled by just participating in limitation and not seeing what that we have an unexamined life. So we're tangled in limitation in human culture. We've agreed to bargains that don't work. So anyway, we're feeling low or not ourself, we probably have been tangled up with a role or a personality part that is trying to survive when we ought to do way more than just survive.
Mm.
Uh,
So,
the starting place, I think, most of the time would be in personal relationships.
mm. Yeah, aren't they a great teacher for that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in personal relationship, we suffer. And why? Because I'm tangled with that person.
Man, I can tell you, I feel it's interesting that I mean, that verbiage is so accurate because sometimes I catch myself in a meditation and I can just feel myself in the tangle. And I feel like I'm getting knots out of my hair or something. And I'm like, this is like,
Right. They're renting space in my head, and my intention is to go to the truth instead of getting lost in this.
can't I just spray some detangler on it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's something to all the different intentional things we can do. I think one of the things I would share is if I we can just own it. If I'm feeling tangled, I've been participating in limitation for a very long time.
Mm,
If I'm feeling really heavy and tangled, it's my participation with heavy culture that's done this.
mm,
I think that's more important than thinking, oh, this person is toxic, they're a vampire, they're hurting me,
mhm,
they're narcissist. I think it's more important to just go, wait a minute. I've participated in such a way that I've made agreements with a narcissist. I'm its complement. Oh, crap. The way I operate is a compliment to a narcissist. I did that to myself.
yeah. So I love where you're going with this because on the one hand, I feel like there's such an acknowledgement there that you can just be like, I'm going to call back my power and I'm going to decide on a different agreement. Like we were talking about earlier, you can just make that decision and you can set that out in the universe. And it does lend itself to some, I don't know, quantum entanglement or I don't know, energetic entanglement. I'm not sure which is the right term for any of it. I don't have all that schooling on there. I just kind
You got
of,
me you got me in my nerd moment. I have to share.
okay,
It's maybe just this. Please meditate on this.
okay.
Different to be profoundly connected to all sentient beings and of all universes of all time. That's profound unity. It's connection. You are of I and I'm of you. That's just connection.
Okay.
Um, and then there's uh, um, participating in limitation or mediocrity, getting and being embroiled in weighty culture or um, um, a perception that I'm in lack.
Okay. Okay.
I can discover my connection to all those beings that suffer on the planet and then find a way to heal me and be a part of them and from wholeness. I can do that in my unity, which is totally different. It's quantum entanglement has its is a different thing than energy tangle in density with others in relationship.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I'm sure I'm not the only one who needed that. So that's
Yeah, I just wanted to share nerd here.
oh, that's great. I guess the other part of that, then when I say two things that are part of that, the one thing I have noticed and I try to be mindful of is that also there's that tendency that somebody who you can take the responsibility for participating and call your power back, but some people will then go into a self-blaming, which then just makes them more victims of themselves as well. Does that make sense?
It is. It does make sense. And like the full picture of this work is very important. And I think that it's mishandled often. Sometimes they call it like the new age hard ass. It's like you create your own reality, kind of stuff, and be um, tough about metaphysically, but we have to also be kind to ourselves
Yeah.
and
Yeah, 'cause you
heal
beat
the
yourself up like, well, this is the reason I have a lousy life. It's all my fault. I'm the one who
right.
did it.
Yeah.
And there is wow, and this is hard too sometimes is like I think there are such random things. Like, is everything on purpose? Like, in some ways it can be said there are no accidents in life, but also there is, I think, some degree of randomness. I would love to hear your thoughts of that.
Um, I'm gonna come at this from an unexpected new place.
Okay.
My answer is be with this stuff, and when it's time to be compassionate and what is it? Let someone have their process. They just need kindness. And then there's a time for transformation attitude, ownership.
Mm,
And each has this place. And it's we have to sit there and know when it's time for one or the other.
mhm.
And
That's well said. That's a
yeah,
discern. Yeah, certainly a discernment. And I think that comes with emotional maturity and experience.
it is true, yes. And yeah, we're hard on ourselves. We need to heal our traumas. And
Yeah,
underneath those traumas is profound wholeness, uncommon freedom. You know,
this is true. Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day about so many of these things that are, I would say not everyday conversations because, they look at me like I have a third eye, which I do.
yeah, I'm used to it. I'm used to it. I would offer, like, as we're ending, I would offer to intuitive community. One of the things I feel like I've been sharing a lot. I just love sharing this. Whatever ways we have contact with synchronicity or telepathic reality or intuitive insights,
Mhm.
it so helps to just say, of course that happens. Like there's no more whoa. It's just like that's just natural self. It's
Mhm.
evidence of my unity. It's evidence that I'm connected. There's a super intelligence in me and everywhere. It's just simply the truth. Like relax. It's just let it all be there.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's very useful to many people listening. Um, a quick question for you too, before I have my standard few questions I ask everybody. Uh,
Okay.
I really feel like we are on the cusp in this year, especially like a lot of people really waking up intuitively. Maybe you've heard or read about a new earth, Eckhart Tolle. I don't know where you stand on all of that, but I do feel we are experiencing a rapid rise in consciousness on this planet. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about any of that.
That's absolutely totally true. And I think it's to bear in mind in terms of the transformations I've seen in individuals
Mhm.
where I have more hope for a transforming person that has hit rock bottom than I am for the happy-go-lucky person. And
Mhm.
our world is hitting rock bottoms in different ways. The tests are everywhere. Human culture and its trappings is online everywhere. News is totally different. People's crap is everywhere. And because of all those tests, we have to wake up now. And I think that's how it's working too. I think we're out of necessity, we're waking up.
100% agree with you. Can't remember if I shared this with you either. So that has actually been a big change in my business. I used to coach mainly on love and money. And
Mm.
in the past, those were portals to consciousness, I think.
Mhm.
People that are suffering in the ways of love or money and entering those portals into higher consciousness and more freedom. They
Mm.
were, I like to call them my benevolent bait and switch, as I
Mm.
felt called to assist with, transformation, it's real, it's painful, it's not
Yeah,
pretty. It's
that's
not,
real.
it's real and it's painful and not pretty, and it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
And so I just feel called to be a compassionate presence with somebody in what I call the void or the abyss that's not scary to walk into, but wouldn't you want to go into those places with a friend or a mentor or a guide that's just, I mean, not that I know any better, but having walked through my own rebirth experience. And I'm not saying I'm transformed because I feel like I'm going to have many more rebirth experiences if I'm being totally honest. But it does help to, have, a real person with you and being like, it's okay. I know this is hard and you got this, that kind of thing. And helping you remind you, of your connection to your life and what is your spirit and your journey. And it doesn't have to be anyone else's, doesn't have to, you don't have to follow your guide. They can just be right beside you. What's the saying Ram Dass says? We're all just walking each other home,
That's a
that kind
metaphor. That's a great image.
yeah.
You and I
So
are walking home together. Thanks for including me in this moment in your journey. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna leave, but I know you're gonna do a little ending
yeah,
as
yeah.
corrections to your friends. So I want to say bye to everybody. I appreciate the time and the chance to share.